practice and middle school orientations night.
No way. What time?
It's all going right now. Christmas got that under control. And it's no patch.
She emailed that out too. I don't know if you saw that.
I mean, they're just all running in
Circles.
yeah.
Off season.
Yep. Yep. We won't. Order. Those who care to, please stand for opening prayer and pledge of allegiance. Mr. Cameron, would you lead us in prayer?
I sure will. Let us pray. Dear Father, we just thank you for this day, and thank you, Lord, for all that you do for us and for this community. And Lord God, tonight as we just take up the issues of this city, just pray that you would guide and direct us in all that we do and all that we say. Just thank you again, Lord, for how you bless this community. Continue to guide and direct. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yep, I was going to sit down and remind everybody. Everybody go to red. Sorry, I didn't do my job. Red on the mics, guys. Thank you.
Got on my dress that's gonna slide off.
We got you covered. There you go.
Right, my petticoat.
Oh, no.
Now you're...
All right, good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. I will open it up for citizen participation tonight. Anyone wishing to speak to something on the agenda, please approach the podium and state your name, your address. You'll be given 3 minutes to speak.
I'm Arlene Minier, 124 East Brook Street, Republic.
Yes, ma'am.
It's just my same question, whether you've had any additional dates on the leaf and limb disposal site or not, because there's limbs piled up and down every street. I see them piled everywhere, and behind all my rental houses, tons of them. I think it's going to be a fire trap down the road if we can't.
The answer is yes. We
Okay.
have had extra dates. They've been published on Facebook.
I don't have Facebook. So.
Well, then we need to put it on our website. So we will make sure that that gets out there, and we're working on it.
Very good. Appreciate everything.
Yes, ma'am. Any other citizens?
Arlene, you need to just be a Facebook. I'll get you set up. We're just going to send it to you in the mail.
We will close citizen participation and move on to the... And already we're off the rails, so here we are. Moving on to the consent agenda, we have a large consent agenda tonight, so I do invite any council members to ask any questions about items 1 through 7, if they have any. Seeing none, I would entertain a motion and a second for approval of the consent agenda.
Motion.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The consent agenda is passed 7-0. Moving on to boards, commissions, and committee schedules. We have City Council next week, August 23rd. That's next week, August 23rd. Board of Adjustments meeting September 1st, 2022. City Council again September 6th, 2022. And finally, Planning and Zoning coming up on September 12th, 2022. Moving on to old business and tabled items, I need a motion and a second for the second reading of Bill 22-48 by title only, please.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 7-0. Madam Clerk.
An ordinance of the City Council amending Bill Number 21-65 to authorize execution a revised intergovernmental agreement with Missouri Department of Social Services Family Support Division for the Low-Income Household Water Assistance Program.
Thank you, ma'am. Any updates from the staff? Any questions or discussion from council? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion and a second for the final passage of Bill 22-42.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We will now take a roll call vote on our computers. Please click refresh, cast your vote, hit submit.
Well,
Everybody's working.
This is not on. All right, let's do a roll call vote.
I guess I didn't hit it hard enough.
No, I think it's not working, Ms. Poole.
Mine is.
Oh,
Is yours working?
Four people are showing up on here and the others are not.
Since we only have one, let's just audible to a voice.
Right. Councilmember Wilson,
Yes.
Councilmember Gerlich,
Yay.
Councilmember Updike,
Aye.
Councilmember Franklin,
Aye.
Councilmember Poole,
aye.
Councilmember Mitchell,
Aye.
Councilmember Gerke.
Aye.
Ordinance passes 7-0. Moving on to new business, this is first reading of the ordinances, and number 9 on our agenda. This is going to be a public hearing. At this time, I would open up the public hearing on the 2022 property tax levies for the City of Republic, Missouri. The way this will work is the same way it's worked every time. I will open it up for people speaking for, then open it up for people speaking against. Anybody interested in speaking for this, please approach the podium. Anyone interested in speaking against? As such, I will close the public hearing portion and move on to item number 10 on our agenda. I need a motion and a second for the first reading of Bill 22-49 by title only, please.
Motion. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 7-0. Madam Clerk.
An ordinance of the City Council setting the 2020 property tax levies for the City of Republic, Missouri.
Thank you, ma'am. 2022?
2022, did I say 2020?
I heard 2022, but my city attorney heard 2020, so we're just covering all our bases. Hi.
Hello, good evening. Megan Cook, Finance Director. It's that time of year again where the state auditors send us the recommendation on the tax levy to be set. This is not a tax increase, just levying the tax in the new year as set by the state auditors. The tax levy rate is based on assessed valuations from each county, the Consumer Price Index, and is capped by the Hancock Amendment. While the city has seen substantial growth over the course of the last year, this growth factor is reduced by an adjustment on the tax levy calculation, which reduces the amount the city can benefit from the growth at any given point within a year. With that said, the recommendation for this tax levy rate for 2023 in accordance with state auditor's levy recommendation is 0.6158, which is up from the tax levy 2022 of 0.5829. Staff is recommending approval.
Do we have questions from council on this issue? Mr. Gerke.
Understand the Hancock. Does it ever catch up? If things level off, I guess we can still continue increasing. Is that how you ever catch up to the growth, or do you just never?
Yeah, so on the pro forma, they show the assessed valuation growth over time, and then each year they do a calculation on the previous year, so it does kind of catch up over time, but they just don't allow us to see a lot of growth within one given year.
That much at one time?
Right.
Thanks.
Other questions?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Kamen.
not a question, but just a comment to that. So to put it in perspective, the original tax levy was 72 cents. So to tell you that Republic has grown so much that they've rolled it back so much that I don't think it'll ever catch back up to the 72 cents that it was assessed. So because we cannot grow, we're projected to grow quite a bit, but to ever get back to the original tax levy, I don't see it happening. Now this is the first year that I've seen it actually go back the other direction, because the previous 5 years it's dropped down into the upper 50s, where now it's back to 61. So it's actually went up this year. So it's not necessarily a decrease, but I don't think we're getting. Amazon was reflected the previous year, which had a significant impact to roll it back even more. So in this levy, I think there is some slowdown, and I think that you're seeing it in this levy personally.
It's the net amount of the previous year, and so the percentage of it changes to make sure the net amount doesn't exceed that.
That's correct.
Yep. Oh, thank you.
Other questions given that interaction? All right, seeing none, that this is a first read, so if you do come up with questions, please get with staff before the next council meeting, which is next week. I need to make sure it's on my calendar. Moving on to item number 11, this is a resolution. This is 22-R-44, a resolution of the City Council authorizing a 3-year agreement with Ring Central for voice-over internet phone services for the city until 2025. I need a motion and a second to take up resolution 22-R-44, please.
Motion. Second.
We have a motion and second. Good evening.
Hi, Chris Crosby, IT Director. Our current VoIP phone provider, Mitel, was sold to a company called Ring Central. Ring Central is really motivated to migrate all Mitel contracts to their new platform and contract structure. Ring Central and Mitel is covering that SOW of $7,800 to migrate. All our current phones are compatible with Ring Central. Ring Central provide the same phone features we currently have, plus several other enhancements, including but not limited to robust support, analytics for real-time and historical reporting, call center capabilities, and be able to edit phone trees on the fly. Moving to Ring Central enhanced the ability to provide higher levels of customer service and response time from the city. Ring Central is honoring the same rates we established with Mitel. If the city will agree to a 3-year contract extension with those same rates. So instead of ending in 2023, we would end that in 2025. The IT department is dedicated to ensuring that all solutions are secure, they support the staff, and their position to grow with the city. We believe that this solution does provide that, and it's a recommendation from the staff to approve this.
Questions from council on this resolution?
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Crosby, one thing I was noticing on that is it gave you a limited number of lines and whatnot. Was the new builds department or new builds building, was that taken into account for the additional lines?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
We should be able to grow with that as well.
Gives you
Any
room.
solution that we did agree to will have that ability. In the documentation, there is a growth as we add lines. There is an additional cost that will be added onto that as part of the phone's net add.
Gotcha. And then it mentioned in there, and this is just curiosity, the mobile app. What is the mobile app that it's referring to?
Yeah, so Mitel had a mobile app as well, but no one used it because it wasn't very good. Ring Central has a much more robust application. So when and that's where it comes to be able to support the city more, is some of our inspectors or people that are out and about, you could call their office line, and if they have that app on their phone, it'll ring to that phone, and they'll be able to respond much quicker, more efficiently. Like in my department, we're out helping someone at their computer, we get a phone call, we'll get that right to our line. And instead of having to give out 3 or 4 different numbers, it's just one.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah.
Other questions? Seeing none, and as this is a resolution, we can call it immediately for a vote, which is what I'll do. All those in favor of Resolution 22-R-44, authorizing a 3-year agreement with Ring Central for VoIP for the city until 2025, vote aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Resolution is passed 7-0. Moving on to item number 12 on our agenda. This is 22-R-45, a resolution of the City Council appointing authorized signers for, I almost said singers. I do that all the time. Golly, I need to get that through my head. A resolution of the City Council appointing authorized signers for the municipal court account with Arvest Bank. I need a motion and a second to take up resolution 22-R-45, please.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Cook?
Yes, so with the banking conversion, we just need to establish the same signers that we had with Bank of Missouri. It's just basically a checks and balance for the bank so that we can get everything set up with the agreements and everything like we should. So with that said, this one's for the municipal court account. We are requesting that Penny Mays and Benjamin McBride be appointed signers for the municipal court account.
It'd be funnier if it was singers.
Right, yes.
Can we add that?
Signers and singers. Questions from council?
Thanks a lot.
Mr. Mayor,
Sir.
I'm gonna put you on the spot just for the sake of it. So why, because there's another resolution, why do we have to have separate authorized signatures in the court versus the rest of the city?
Yes, correct. So with Show Me Court, they require it to be held separately. The other accounts are overseen by the finance department and council members, but with the Show Me Court system, they had to have separate signers on there, which is the judge and the court clerk.
Any other questions? Seeing none, and as this is a resolution, I'll call it immediately for a vote. All those in favor of 22-R-45, vote aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Resolution carries 7-0. Moving on to item number 13 on our agenda. This is 22-R-46, a resolution of the City Council appointing authorized signers for the general operating account and bond proceeds account with Arvest Bank. I need a motion and a second to take up resolution 22-R-46, please.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Keep going.
All right. So again, no changes. We're just updating this resolution to appoint the same signers for Arvest Bank as we had established for the Bank of Missouri. Those signers are Matthew Russell, Mayor, Gary Wilson, and then myself as a backup.
Any questions or curveballs that want to be thrown at our?
No, I just want to explain how the court
Yes.
changed the whole banking, well, I'll just stop. Anyway,
Lawyers.
yes.
It's awful. Any other questions, like constructive questions? Seeing none, and as this is a resolution, I'll call it immediately for a vote. All those in favor of 22-R-46, vote aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Resolution carries 7-0. Moving on to finance report.
Yes.
Boy, it's your show tonight.
It is. So Q2, we ended, I'm just kind of going to go over the sales tax trend and cash balance of where we landed. The fund balance and balance sheet are in front of you, but for y'all to read. So sales tax revenue trend was over 2021 by 20.35% over 2021, like I said. This does not include the public safety, as we wanted to show apples to apples for you all. We did receive $949,000 in public safety tax as of June 30th, just so we can give an update on that. Cash balance, we ended Q2 at $64 million in comparison to $65.6. This is a decrease, but that's because we're starting to spend into the bond proceed money. So you will see decreases as we spend down that money in projects. We also had a major debt payment that comes annually in May. So usually that'll catch up over time as well. And so that is my major update.
That spending, was that planned for and budgeted on? Nothing surprising?
Correct, yes. It was all in our appropriated budget that we passed in November. Well, budget amendment actually, because this kind of came after that. So,
Questions from council on the finance report? Seeing none, thank you very much.
thank you.
Moving on to reports from staff. Mr. Cameron.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So tonight I'm gonna deviate a little bit from my plan. I've asked Jared to give a kind of an overview, just in discussions with the mayor about the ballot measure, and so just want to thank the community for their support on the renewal of both tax issues. But now we're to the questions of, no, we're not going to start construction next week, but Jared is here to give us an update, of which he will probably share that we're going to be sharing this on our websites and platforms, just so the community can see a timeline. But I hope you'll enjoy how he's laid this out and the work that's there, and then I'll follow that up with some discussion about the financing. So, Mr. Keeling.
Thank you, sir. Jared Keeling, Parks and Recreation Director. First of all, I just want to echo what David said, and we have taken to all of our available platforms to thank the citizens of the Republic for successfully passing these sales tax renewals. That has secured the funding for our Parks Department for the next 25 years, so that is an absolutely huge thing for us. So can't say thank you enough to the citizens of the Republic for renewing these taxes. It just means the world to us. So we were able to, I just wanted to give the count. So the question one for operations passed roughly 70-30. In my humble opinion, I think that's an astounding number, especially given the current economic climate. I think that's just terrific. And then the second question for capital improvements passed at 67-33. Once again, a tremendous result for us. So as you may recall, there was 3 major projects that were listed for the capital improvements sales tax. And I kind of want to go over these briefly because we already have been fielding a lot of the calls of the when. Like, when will this happen? I think Steffi actually got a call the other day that was, seriously, are you going to close the pool right now to start construction? We're like, no, we're going to keep that open. So, but we're equally as excited. So I want to make sure everyone knows that we want to get these things done. But as you can imagine, through the various stages of design and everything, it just takes time, construction, bidding, and everything like that. So I want to start with a project at Martin. This is the one we want to get to first. We've already started work. If you've been by J.R. Martin Park, or if you've even been by the Aquatic Center, you've seen Olson in recent days doing the survey work and starting on the geotech work. So the wheels are already turning. So the steps after the survey and the geotech work will all be all the design work. That will ultimately lead to bidding and then to construction and then to our grand opening. So you'll see that kind of same timeline as you go through these projects. But for the J.R. Martin Park project, which is going to add the community event space, farmers market space to the park, which was the #1 rated thing in the citizens survey, we are hopeful, we are aiming for, and we want to have that open by the spring of 2024 with use of the facility in mind. Obviously, come spring of 2024, people will be looking to get out and about. Especially for farmers markets and these type of things, community events. So that's what we're eyeing. We believe we can get it done by April of 2024.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
I don't want to interrupt your
Nope, go
flow.
ahead.
So the design development, you guys have come up with some amazing preliminary sketches.
Yes.
Could you talk a little bit about the design development and kind of the process that's going to go into that, and who's going to see it and who's going to decide on it, and or is this too early to talk about?
No,
that?
it's good. So we have, through input from the community and through input from staff and through from our consultants, already went through, I would say, halfway through the schematic design phase. We were asked to, for all the elements we wanted to include in each project. And that's come as a result of community citizen input, come as a result of our tours, like, hey, we've seen this elements in other cities. We've heard this from our community. That's what they want. So we're about halfway to 3/4 of the way through schematic design. From there, the architects will pick it up. Now that they passed, we're going to go into the detailed planning and the detailed phasing and what fixtures and, what materials do you want to use, or what does the feel of the space want to look like. So that's where we're at in the process. We're not relying on solely, though, on our expertise. That's why we have the SAP Designs and the Olsons to tell us a little bit more what materials work in what space, what's good for just the use in general. So that's where we're at in the design phase. So, but for that one, we're eyeing, once again, April 2024. For the Aquatic Center, this one is tremendously just off the charts cool to me. So we were wanting to get it done for sure by 2024. We didn't know if we were going to be able to do it but the last 5 or 6 days, we have solidified the plan to get it done by the summer of 2024. So it sounds aggressive, but we can get it done. Now, what that will mean is it'll be some construction when we're open in 2023, and we'll have to have a good conversation with the general contractor where that won't disturb our operations. But to have that thing open, essentially, just one more pool season regular and the next pool season in spring, May of 2024 open. Just tremendously excited about it. I went through this one when it was here. That at the time it took about 5 months for construction, but I did ask and re-ask the architects, like, are you sure this is going to take 12 to 14 months for construction on this one? And they have indicated that is indeed the case with the current material shortage and everything like that. They're pretty confident in that number. So we want to be open by May of 2024, and we believe we can hit that mark. The biggest one, which is the sports complex on our newly acquired property, 136 acres there along James River. Biggest project, going to take the largest amount of time, the largest amount of planning. We got to prepare ourselves internally for this as well. We have added incredible pieces to our athletic staff, but we're going to continue to add those incredible pieces because this will not be a small undertaking. We have a dynamic leader. His name's Garrett Klein of our athletic staff, but we got to get him a couple more resources by the time we open this up, because you could imagine the flurry of activity. Just the excitement this thing has created is just crazy good. But we got to get ready to, but also longer planning cycles, longer design cycles, longer construction cycles. You know, it'd be good for us is to have an additional year. So we're eyeing March, April of 2025. That'll be in time for a spring soccer program that traditionally starts in late March. So that's where we're at. Again, we're tremendously excited. There's a lot of work between now and any grand opening of April of 2024, but our pledge is what we've done already with our sales tax dollars is just to be good stewards of the money. We're not going to waste the money, but we also want to get the most bang for our buck, but we want to create something dynamic. Just the one at J.R. Martin Park alone, I was over there today. I'm like, that is going to be so incredibly special with that new early childhood building right there to the side of it. So it's just going to be cool. We can't wait to get it done, but with that, I'll entertain any questions. We're going to David's point a while ago, we will have this information out on the website and social media by the end of the week. So, because I know the community will want to hear when they're coming. So.
Yes, sir.
My 6-year-old daughter,
Yes.
this is directly from her.
Yes.
What about the Frisbee golfers?
Great. So there's I love this because this is the kind of stuff we want to hear. So there's two elements that we've been asked about a lot already, and it's the tennis courts and it's disc golf. So that tells you that people love the tennis courts and they play disc golf. So tennis courts will be moved to Miller Park. We're going to do that ahead of these projects. We're looking to do that in March of next year. Disc golf will remain in Miller Park. However, we are looking to go from 13 to 9. We're going to have to reconfigure some holes, but we don't want to take that away because the popularity of that sport, if you will, is insane right now because it's free. It's something to do. You can walk to. It's just great. But there will be probably a casualty of 4 holes, but it will remain at Miller Park, though. Ideally, Clint, we would like to potentially put one out at Brookline Park as well. Woods are really, really good for disc golf, so we're eyeing that as well. So that's a great question from a 6-year-old.
Yeah, she's a smart kid.
Yeah.
Takes after her
Yeah.
mom.
Yes, sir.
Okay, on J.R. Martin, when all's said and done, how long will the walking trail be?
So it only will add very minimal. It'll still be 3/4 of the way around there. So when you're doing your morning track, Mr. Wilson, you're not going to be walking that much further. But there, I can go back to it. But there's just a small little jaggedy loop that will go over to the new. You can see it right there. We're going to redo that portion of the trail to connect to the Farmers Park area.
Okay.
I would say 0.8 maybe, but that's just off the cuff. So.
Mr. Franklin.
And you almost answered most of my questions.
Yes.
We're at Miller Park, tennis courts, pickleball.
Okay, so I don't have an aerial of that.
Yeah,
but
I'm kind of mentally picturing it.
No, a great reference point is the tennis courts. It'll just be tennis courts. They will literally sit on where the rodeo arena used to be.
Oh, okay.
So if you're familiar with where the Saddle Club used to be, the rodeo arena, they have that. They had that support facility right there in the middle of the park. We use it right now for canoe and kayak storage. We're going to redo that brand new bathroom facility to have for the tennis courts, but also for year-round walker access on the trail. We've been asked about that a lot. Is Miller Park, if you don't have any place to go to the bathroom, let's come all the way to community center. So we're tremendously excited to bring that to Miller Park. Miller Park, once it's said and done with the expansion of the rack, the tennis courts, the reconfiguration of the trail, it's going to be special as well.
So then parking for that area would
Yeah.
be at the back of the aquatic center, or how would that?
Yeah, we'll expand the parking lot of the aquatic center to obviously facilitate more patrons, but tennis court will be able to use that as well.
Okay, thank you.
There are a lot of tennis players remaining in our community.
Yeah, there are. I said pickleball was just what was on my mind.
Yeah.
I meant tennis.
And there's some very passionate tennis players in our
both.
community. Yeah. Which is great.
Yes, sir.
Update on the park over there behind the Pentecostal Church on 174. I know it's been mentioned before.
Yeah.
Updates or anything on that?
Certainly. So Garrett's been working on this as well. Garrett Brickner has as well. So we have Joanna Scott within our department who's working on that. We are looking seriously at turning that into a dog park. Now, I say that we'll make that happen. I just don't know a timetable yet. We have roughly plus or minus 5 acres. You guys have to do some drainage work over there, but we all are in the opinion that it will work for a dog park. So, but I don't know yet on a timetable, but excited to bring that about as
Will
well.
the parking be there at the church, or will there be new
Yeah.
parking built?
So through a partnership or a deal with Liberty, we've arranged for parking on site there at Liberty for they'll be able to park and use the dog park.
Once they get that location built?
Yeah, is that correct?
Other questions?
If there's no other questions on that, I do want to share one more thing real quick, just because this starts next week, and I just want to make sure council is generally aware of it, because I do think it could potentially cause a lot of conversation. We've went through it over and over and over and over, us in the school, but I do think potentially you could be contacted about it. So, as you all know, Josh took this image yesterday, so Early Childhood Center has been constructed over the last probably 18 months. It opens to the school system next Monday. So this year and potentially maybe the 2023-2024 school year, just depends on construction and how we go, vehicle traffic for that school will be utilizing our Park Road. Now that Park Road, Chris, this works, right? So that Park Road right there has been closed down for the better part of 7 years. So we came in and repaved that. The school paid to have that done. So patrons, wow, I'm in the parks business, can't you tell? parents, how about that? Parents of school children they'll be coming off of Hines Street. They will be one-waying all the way down through here. I want to illustrate this because it's important. Going through here, turning around here, passenger side pickup for early childhood, and then again returning all the way back down here and exiting onto Hines. So we're talking with Jason again today. There will be 3 periods during the day where that vehicular traffic will be on Park Road. We're working out times and schedules of gate closings and stuff like that. So that is something new. It is only for a year and a half, depending on construction at the top, but we have taken or will take every safety measure possible to make sure that all of our patrons for the park are safe, and as well as the school traffic. So I just want to make sure you were aware of that. This was the most viable solution for them putting that there, and for our project that's coming, we can do this safely year and a half. Now after that, everything will be queued in the parking lots that facilitate the event space up on top where you see the tennis courts now. So.
Question there. On the gravel parking lot,
Yes.
where you go across the road
Yes, sir.
to the park, they have installed 2, I'd say 4x4 steel posts. Are you going to put a gate there?
We are. So the existing bollards on the road will be lifted because they're permanently affixed in the road. Obviously, we can't do that to puncture tires. So we have installed, the school's going to reimburse. We are in the process of installing a new gate there. That gate will be open and closed by the school whenever it's time to let them in or everything like that. So we are debating right now the school needs in and out of there 3 times a day. We're debating on right now whether to leave that road just open from 8 to 4 every day. We haven't quite made that decision, but once we do, we'll make sure we put the information out there. So
I think we've discussed it, but how many cars is the school expecting on that?
they have shot us a number anywhere between 300 to 350.
Okay, so if that gate is closed there, the parents are gonna be backing out onto Hines Street, aren't they?
They ran all the calcs, Mr. Wilson. I'm not entirely sure they'll be all the way back to Hines or not. I don't know yet. That's the reason come Monday, I think I'm going to be over there just checking it out myself. But I don't know that. Now, obviously, this will alleviate some of the congestion that was on 174 in Maine, but it might bring, that's the reason we're making you aware of it, honestly. We might bring some other issues, but we'll work through them. As with anything, a new traffic pattern in a school for the first week, it could be challenging. But one thing I know from the dealings with the school with Jason and Matt, they have been so good to work with. We'll work through any problems. So. Whoa.
Mr. Mayor.
Sorry, I'm distracted by the thunder,
Me
making
too.
sure my
I'll be
kids
quick.
are picked up from football practice.
So I'm just a little bit confused. I know you said for the next year and a half or so, the school would be using that existing park road. Then, sir, you're saying there's going to be a different road constructed where the tennis courts are now that's going to take that traffic?
Chris, can you pull that PowerPoint back up, please? Thank you, sir. So taking all this into account, the new venue there, and you can see it here, will have a large, this is going to be just a big old U down here. So school traffic in the future this is Park Road right now where it was, but this will have a big old U to where that can facilitate all of that traffic in there. We obviously closed Park Road a long time ago for a reason. We had vehicular traffic down through there going way too fast, and it was a safety concern. Now we're going to be able to channel that a little bit better now with speed bumps and things like that. But ultimately, we don't want that traffic dissecting the park. It's just not exactly what we want. So that will solve that. The school's on board with the plan. They've actually had input on that plan. They will be able to stack all those cars in there of the new parking lot for the new venue. They will be stacking and using that during times where we'll never have an event going on. So it works both ways. It should work really, really well. So did that make sense, Mr. Franklin?
So the school will continue to use that as a entrance exit.
The parking lot
the
area.
Foreseeable future.
Correct. That is correct. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I just want to make sure we brought that to your attention in case you get contacted about it, or there would happen to be a citizen that expresses some concern about it. We have went through every possible scenario, and we believe we can do that safely. So.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, you're welcome.
Was that everybody's questions? I'm sorry. Very good.
Thank you, Jared. And one thing I'm gonna say, Jared, I think to you and Jennifer, I said it I think I said it at the last meeting. I appreciate the work that you all did and the transparency you used on the ballot measure. But listening to and just working with this group for 6 years now, what I love about the way you go about it, Jared, and your team, you might be the most frugal group, and Jared, by far, you're going to find every square inch to utilize that property, and I appreciate that you're constantly working. Because thinking about using the Riding Club property, I remember when we first started that, we were trying to figure out what to do with the Riding Club, and so how you navigated for that transition to be able to reutilize or repurpose that property. I think that's where a lot of places would just go out and buy more land. We have purchased more land with another purpose, but I appreciate how you figure out how to utilize all the property and assets that the community owns so that we're not asking for additional and maximizing the use of that property. And I think the last sales tax use and all the additional projects that we're not rehashing of how you all utilize the tax to maximize that. I feel very confident to see that happen again. A couple other just key takeaways from that discussion that we even had today that I think that the community's gonna benefit from is during this time frame when that construction's taking place, we have roughly $200 million of additional sewer, water, transportation in that same area. So contractors, when they see that work, it's gonna be a good opportunity for our community to capitalize on, have economies of scale per se to those construction projects. So not just having each individual pod, and they're all gonna be coming together about the same time. The other thing that I'll say is a term to get very familiar with the wastewater plant and these projects is what we call design build. So basically it helps capture and provide savings to the community without doing a lot of work as you go on the front end. So there's a lot of moving parts, but there are a lot of benefits from doing design build contracts versus doing architectural design and engineering and then going through that entire process. So design build is something that we will bring you. Do we lose power? I was like, oh. So looking forward to that. And then I also talked to the underwriters who did the bonding for the wastewater plant today. And so we were going to bring an engagement letter to you next week to start the underwriting process with Stiefel again. But our previous engagement, for those that were not part of that engagement letter, you have to outline before they can start providing us rates and information. You have to have an engagement. So that only included the sewer. So we're going to include some work for fire, some economic development, whether we do it or not, and then also the parks initiatives for financing. So, which means we'll go through all the S&P work again, and so we're looking forward to the second shot at that apple, and so looking forward to it. Anyway, I want to thank the employees. This is a pet peeve of mine. The median on US 60 looks fantastic. I know that MoDOT does not have the resources to keep up with mowing that. We've talked about taking care of that. Driving down the road the other day and seeing grass flying and about 15 of our lawnmowers out there, why some people may not even know or notice that. I do, and I know that it's a nasty job, and trash was flying everywhere, and we cleaned it up. But it looks better. I mean, if we're going to spend that kind of money on a gateway sign, taking care of that, MoDOT did not have it, and it's ironic. I think they came in and started cleaning the trash up this week, getting ready to mow it. So either way, I know that it's not necessarily our job, but they gave us permission to do it, and I want to thank them publicly for the work that they do. That sometimes the community may not even know that our staff stepped up to take care of that, just to make our community look better. Because I think that's something that we all got to take pride in. I know the chamber and groups work on the cleanup of roadside cleanup and doing that, but our gateway to the community is very important. We need to work very hard at protecting that. Let's see. Again, thank you to the voters for the initiative. And I'll just say this: it was a great turnout, and for us to get through the election season, it's always going to be a challenge. But it's always great to see our community show up to vote. And thank you, Andrew, for not paving Boston Lane on election day. I think that would have absolutely shot us in the foot. But anyway, and then next week we have a council meeting, as you know, because the tax levy was tonight. We had to push it back because we just got the data. So we are going to this council commissioned a wage analysis for us to talk about, just to see where we compared. We have the results of that analysis that will be presented, and then there's some consideration in the budget, which is why we're presenting the information now, just so that there's some changes that we have to make in the actual budget, but it's not material, but just some information that we wanted to share, just so you can see how we've done and how we've compared on keeping up with the wages in the community, so that, especially after doing a ballot initiative a year ago to take care of public safety, it's going to be, I think it's very eye-opening, and I was glad to see the results of that, but there's just a few little places we need to tweak. Also, we're gonna be bringing a resolution, next week because we've had a fairly good year with our financial position on the street position, and while we have momentum on the streets, Andrew's gonna be bringing an amendment to the budget to do some additional maintenance work on the streets, maybe not as much overlaying, but that's more of like the, what we call micro seal. So he's gonna be bringing you a list of about $469,000 of additional streets and outlining that, just to kind of continue the momentum to taking care of our commitment. So if we had additional money, we're not necessarily we're not spending it frivolously, but we are going to the most needed areas to take care of that. He'll be bringing that resolution with all those streets. And if you want to, we can send that list out in advance. You can look at it. I've asked to see which one of those streets we're looking at, and our engineer Garrett Brickner has been working on these and like where we need to be going to maximize that work. So looking forward to that. I need to report a repair and maintenance on a pump at Schuler Creek lift station. How much was it? It's not listed. So it's $32,000 to repair the pump. So I have to, by our purchasing, I need to report that it was not necessarily a budgeted item, but it is a repair to a pump station that we have to do. So I just want to, part of our purchasing policy doesn't necessarily require we report it, but one thing we want to be very clear about when it comes to reporting expenditures that may or may not have been budgeted is just our transparency piece, that everything that we spend, regardless if it seems like it's an emergency or not, we want to make sure that it's reported. And lastly, she doesn't even know it, but I want to congratulate Laura, our city clerk. So I'm sure you know what you received this week, because I got a notification in my inbox that she has earned the designation of Certified Municipal Clerk, which is awarded by the International Institute of Municipal Clerks. And so they only grant this designation to only those municipal clerks who complete demanding education requirements and who have a record of significant contributions to their local government, their community, and state. So congratulations, Laura.
Well done.
Yeah. One thing about it is when we have this thing, it's in the Daily Edge or the Trust Edge we work called the Power Hour, where you take an hour and you set it aside just to plan. Laura actually, in her office, I love it, because if you want to go stop by Laura's office, she has a piece of paper in her window that says Power Hour, which means leave me alone. And even I'm like going, that's awesome, I need that. But Laura works very hard and stays, very educated and learns and grows her skills, and I know she's committed to doing that. She's also completed 75 hard, and those that don't know what 75 hard is, I'm currently on day 67. You're on currently 73.
74.
74.
74. Yeah, I'm
so,
almost done.
Laura, after going through that, now I admire it even more. So it's like, but I appreciate the work and the commitment to improve yourself. My dad always said, don't get beat over a piece of paper. And so by advancing and growing your skill set, I think that investing in yourself is a huge win, but it's also a win for our community. So congratulations. And with that, Mr. Mayor, I'm done.
Thank you, sir.
You bet.
Reports from council. Mr. Franklin.
Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to thank everybody for coming out to vote last couple weeks ago. And thanks to the city for the quick cleanup after the storms. I know over in Ward 1, there was a couple trees down. Before we could even kind of blink our eyes, the city was there getting the road cleared out. And neighbors were helping neighbors, and so it was a great scene. Not the wind and not the limbs down, but just all the neighbors and the great job they were doing to help each other out. So thank you to everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Franklin. Mr. Gerke?
Just wanted to echo, I think Dave and Jared mentioned too, but appreciate all the voters coming out, and just really great to see it's about a 70% approval rating. I think it's pretty awesome, and glad we were able to take that to vote to let the people decide to push that forward. But congrats, and awesome to see.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? All right, I get the last word. Election night in my house, the boys know they don't bother me. I'm constantly refreshing my cell phone. It's just one of those nights where mom puts them to bed and I sit there on the couch refreshing. And it's not because I get nervous, because I don't know of anybody that could have worked harder than Jared and Jennifer. I wasn't nervous. I just like to see the final numbers. And those final numbers were amazing. So first of all, thank you. Take a second to pat yourselves on the back. You have 15 seconds. And now the work. Sorry, it's how my brain works. I'm sorry. And I immediately got with David and said, what's the plan? I want to hear what the plan is. So thank you for that presentation tonight, because the fact that you have that plan is just another symbol of why this passed 70-30. It's because you do have a plan. and you know what you're doing. You've successfully done it so many times in the past. Doing it in the future was a no-brainer for our citizens. And it's because the citizens trust us. They trust us with the law enforcement sales tax. They trust us with a no increase sales tax for parks, arguably in the middle of a recession. And people are their jaws are dropping, and it's because of you guys, not because of us. It's because you do the work that you say you're going to do. And our citizens trust us. So thank you. Thank you. And I really wish I could, go out to the new ballpark or the new Lazy River and the new J.R. Martin Park tomorrow. I know it's going to take time. Please forgive me in the future when I say win, win, win. But I have a lot of confidence in your ability to pull this off. And more importantly, I think our citizens have a lot of confidence in you pulling this off. So thank you. And with that,